Hello, and welcome to days 4 and 5 of InkPrepNoWriCember. So before I explain what I'm doing here in this drawing, I'm going to tell you about an article I read by Temple Grandin called Against Algebra. And a title like that is bound to get my blood up because I love algebra and I think math literacy is kind of important. But I did read it anyway, and the point of it was not that learning algebra is bad, but rather that we shouldn't make algebra a requirement for learning math necessarily, because there are people who could be good at math but struggle with algebra specifically because they're very visual learners, as Temple Grandin, the author, famously is. She's even written a book about it. So that, it turns out, is something I can get behind because I also had something similar happen where one of the first things you learn in math is a whole lot of arithmetic, where you need to do calculations quickly in your head, and I wasn't great at that, but I'm still glad that I didn't let that convince me that I was bad at math or I shouldn't do it, because then I found algebra, which I really liked. And I can imagine something similar happening for someone who doesn't like algebra, but then finds geometry or something, and then they really like that. And in our current education system, I don't think you can really do much more math if you don't get past the algebra hurdle, and that is what the article was about. So the reason I bring that up is because of this quote here. There are two types of visual thinkers. Some visual thinkers, like me, are object visualizers. We see the world in photorealistic images. Many of us are graphic designers, artists, skilled tradespeople, architects, inventors, mechanical engineers. Spatial visualizers see the world in patterns and abstractions. They're the music and math minds, the statisticians, computer coders, electrical engineers, and physicists. So this idea that there are multiple types of visual thinkers was really interesting to me, even though it's confusing about which type I actually am. She said the first kind were mechanical engineers and artists, and I guess I'm both of those. But I don't think I see the world in photorealistic images. That's what I found when I was trying to write descriptions in my novel. I can see the scene, but it doesn't have enough detail for me to go straight to a description. And that's why I had the idea that I was going to develop some of the scenes, especially the settings, in my novel by drawing them first, because that helps me see them in enough detail to actually describe them and make that description be interesting. So here I'm doing some research on cliff dwellings and cave dwellings as inspirations for a setting in my novel. I won't explain exactly what it is, nor am I going to explain what I'm drawing, because of two reasons. One, it might be a spoiler, and two, I might change my mind about any of these elements before they actually get into the story, in which case I will be basically misinforming you. But a lot of authors use images and like Pinterest boards and mood boards to help them do descriptions, and that is where I'm starting here, but I think for me it's easier if I actually draw it, because my setting is going to look different than these. This is Gondor from Lord of the Rings, which is also an inspiration. So yeah, that's pretty much the plan for helping me get into the descriptions and the world building a little easier, to draw some of the settings and artifacts and maybe even some of the characters. from the novel. Obviously, I'm not going to draw every scene because at that point I'd be making a graphic novel. But just enough drawing to, kind of get into the atmosphere. And I think it'll be fun to have these pictures up while I'm writing for inspiration. The other thing I've been doing is continuing to read my draft over the past couple of days. I think I've read the most unfamiliar parts, and so I'm more or less halfway through it. So I guess the reading counts as a prep activity, and this drawing counts as both ink and prep. So in InkPrepNoWriCember, I have the first two down, and hopefully I'll be able to get to the actual writing soon. And the rest of this is just me finishing up this drawing. I think by the time I got to these scrolls and papers, I got pretty tired of drawing them. This is my least favorite part of any drawing. At least because the architecture is rough hewn. I don't have to draw like super straight geometric lines. But filling in these books was when I was starting to get tired and ready for this to be done. But overall, it was still really fun, and I was happy with this final drawing, even though I can't really tell you what it is. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed hearing my super opinionated thoughts about math and watching me draw this mystery picture. And that concludes days 4 and 5 of InkPrepNoWriCember. And I'll see you in the next one in a couple of days. Bye!